Welcome to the Bobcast. Doing a couple of these now that are a little bit more interesting to probably most people. Since we're pretty much at the midway point of the season, 7-11, so trade deadline's coming up, All-Star game. We just passed the halfway point in games played. So let's take a look at the division races and see how they're going. Pretty much take a look at what the playoff picture is now and how it might look going forward. This one's the AL preview, so we're going to do the at least review. So we're going to look at the American League teams that are trying to win, and let's see what happens. We're going to start with the American League East because it's awesome, and why not? It has the best teams in the American League in it, and it's also the first on the page. American League right now is a two-team race, and rather surprising because how the division standings are. Toronto and Tampa Bay will be discussed much more in depth. The two teams at the bottom of the division, Boston and New York, are the two teams with the highest payrolls, so that's a bit weird, I'd say. So apparently you can't buy wins, even though Yankees have $198.5 million payroll. Boston has $178 million payroll, and yet they are not playing well. Yankees are at 30-51, Boston's at 41-46. So they certainly should not be mentioned more on one where I'm reviewing good teams. Baltimore, a little bit under 500, 42-46. So like I said, American League East, two-horse race between Tampa Bay and Toronto. Toronto started out, pretty much has been leading from the wire till now, but has recently been caught and overtaken by Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is doing it rather interestingly. They're second in runs scored, ninth in runs allowed, so their hitting is incredible. Their pitching is pretty good. It's the upper third of the league since they're ninth, right? It's gotta really hurt Toronto, and it does, that the guy who's really stirring the drink for Tampa Bay, the guy that's helping Jimmy's team to winning the division, is Michael Krause. Now this hurts Toronto because Krause was one of their guys that was Rule 5 selected, and then dealt to Tampa Bay, but Krause is having an MVP type season. 326 average, 384 on base, stealing 66 bases out of 88 attempts, so he's stealing a 75% clip. He's on pace to end the year with 81 RBIs and 133 runs scored, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, he's leading off of them. He's going to steal 100 bases this season probably. An amazing year from Krause, and Toronto is kicking himself for that. Besides that, Longoria having his usual misty good season. 276 average, 365 on base, OPS around 900, driving a bunch of runs, on pace for 122 runs driven in. Runs driven in, that doesn't sound right. Whatever. The Rays are doing it pretty much. They're good at everything hitting wise. Fifth in average. They're at the fourth most home runs. They take a walk. They're leading the league in walks. But yet also they're stealing bases. Between Krause and B.J. Upton, it's a lot of stolen bases right there. Pitching wise, same old story for them. You know, the usual of Hellickson at Price at the top of the rotation. Price having a huge year, 13-3 with a 2.75 ERA. Big year for him. The pen's been average, which is usually the case, I guess, on Jimmy's teams, at least from what I've noticed. Tampa Bay usually has an okay bullpen. Yeah, so they're at 56 and 32. The Bulldog, Oral Hershiser, has them playing really well. As is Toronto, though. Toronto also having a very good season. Another team that's bashing the hell out of the ball. They're first in runs scored, but they're 26th in runs allowed. So the hitting has been carrying them. They're winning a lot of high-scoring games. Pitching, Cecil's doing well. Besides for that, not much of anything's going right. Morrow is not having a good season. Not pitching to his ratings. He has a 5.2 ERA. Repzinski, or whatever the hell you want to say that dude's name is, having an okay season, mid-4 ERA. Back of the rotation has been terrible. Bullpen, not much better. Also terrible. Putz is he's pretty much giving him a run an inning at this point. Not doing well. Blown 6 out of his 22 save opportunities, which isn't terrible, but not that good still. An ERA of 8.29 is horrendous. So that's why he's no longer closing. Francisco brought in is the new closer, but not like he's much better with his 5.08 ERA. So Toronto, I'm sure is looking at the trade deadline and to acquire some, pitching, or at least make their pitching better, which they should do. So that's pretty much it for the American League East. Let's see. Let's take a look at the. This freaking page won't open. let's take a look at the American League Central. American League Central is incredibly fascinating also. This one is a race that should go down to the wire between all three teams that are going for it. The team in first right now is the Detroit Tigers. Detroit 51-36. Third best record fourth best record in all baseball, third best in the American League. They are third in runs scored, 13th in runs allowed, so a lot of these American League teams are bashing the ball and pitching okay to average. Detroit's led, of course, by their two awesome catchers, Sanchez and Avila, but Sanchez much more so, hitting 303 with an 863 OPS. Billy Butler having a monster year, OPS around 1,000, hitting 345 with 16 homers and 67 RBIs already. That's pretty freaking great. It's a very good season. Pitching wise, I don't know, not much to write home about. Turner has a very good win-loss, but that's doesn't really matter much. I don't want to put this. Detroit's hitting the ball really well. They have prospects. They got guys they could bring up if they need. Their offense is carrying them though, and the pitching, including the pen, it's not so great. Bush is closing for them as of now. He's having a good year, 40 innings, 2.23 ERA, so he's doing well. And yet, I don't know if they're going to have enough to hold to beat the other teams. I mean, the Central truly is a powerhouse. Cleveland, which is in second right now, again, really good team, building on what he did last season, building on what he does all season. Evan, obviously, has some really, really fine players. Santana, Kitna, Cabrera, cornerstones to build on. Santana having his usual really good season, 310 average, 9 homers, 890 OBP. Hitting is he has 8th best hitting and the 16th best pitching. So it's interesting. American League, most teams are hitting better than they're pitching. The Cleveland rotation is led by Latos, who, as we all recall, was stolen from San Diego for the Lonnie Chisenhall, pitching really well with a 1.06 ERA and a 1.06 WHIP and a 2.73 ERA for Evan. Really pitching really well. Joe Smith, their closer, having a really, really fine season. Cleveland's another team that's doing it through hitting and pitching okay to well to decent. I don't know. You have to tell me what you think that is. Minnesota's the third best team in that division as of the record, but Minnesota is jacked, however you want to put it. They've been adding players and are a really fearsome team to look at now. Recent trades, they traded, they got Hayward from Atlanta, who will probably be a beast for them for the next 15 seasons. They traded for Josh Johnson from Florida, or Miami as it is. Some really high-class players. I mean, hitting-wise and pitching-wise. You have Morneau, you have Hayward, you have Bruce, you have Mauer still. Those are 4 upper class hitters, just who could rake the ball, and that's why they had the 5th most runs in the league. So Minnesota is hitting the ball extremely well, and as opposed to the other teams, they're actually pitching it even better. They have got the third least runs in the league, pitching to a 3.88 ERA. With just a deep rotation. Johnson, Darvish, Liriano. I mean, that's 3 you would never want to face in the playoffs. I mean, that's if he makes the playoffs, you got to say that Aaron has a very good shot to go ahead and take the whole thing. Cause how you can match it with those guys, let alone the hitting that he has. So that's pretty much it in the Central. Kansas City and Chicago are 11 games out, 9.5 games out, so they're not really much. They're probably not going to be there, even though Kansas City made a pretty nice trade, I think, to bring in Ian Kennedy. But Minnesota also made a good trade, bringing in Chase Utley, I think. So a lot of going around, a lot of machinations happening in the American League Central, and I don't know how that's going to end up. I'd probably put my money on Minnesota to take division and the World Series, but my predictions are terrible, so clearly I should not be listened to. The West is, like most West, like in real life, the West are terrible. NFC, AFC, real life, MLB. Oakland and Seattle are tied for the leading division at 44 and 43, only a game over 500. LA 6 games back, and Texas is really bad. Oakland, again, I don't know how they're doing it, but then again, I don't know how they did it the past couple seasons when they won the division. Um, Ninth most runs scored, 11th least runs given up, so they're average, which pretty much makes sense since they're only game over 500. They just made a couple trades. I don't know, Chris Carter's having a really good season for them. Sizemore, I don't know, regressing, like back to what I don't know. His 3 seasons he had a bad season, good season, and then the season looks more like a bad season. But 255 average, 317 on base. Not a really good one, but I'm sure Grady's fans still love him. Pitching has been average. Anderson, Cahill they've been okay. They haven't been that spectacular. Bailey's a pretty decent closer. So they're tied, as I said, Oakland with Seattle. Seattle, again, top 2 guys in the rotation. They're King Felix and Pineda, although Felix is still the ace. This season's #1 pitcher, but even though Pineda has surpassed him, if anything, should have taken the crown from the King. They both have 3 ERAs, even though Pineda's right on the line, a 3.99, while Felix has a 3.57. But the back end of their rotation has been terrible. They have the 21st best ERA, so or at least the ninth worst ERA. However we're going to look at it, get up to 19th most runs in the league. Plus Pineda's now out 3 weeks still, 3 more weeks, so I don't know if Seattle's going to be able to hold on here. So Felix and Pineda are well, but Fister, Markham, and Harang have been terrible. Perez is a good closer, though. He's pitching well, at least. The offense, Ellsbury having a MVP-type season like he is in real life. Or like he did in real life, I should say. Hitting 342 with the 386 on base with 52 stolen bases. Going to score over like 120 runs. That's a really, really good year. Braun, and having an okay season. Should probably be better. With 300 average, 50 on base, 20 on pace for 20 homers. They're scoring like the 11th most runs, giving up the 19th most runs, so neither of those are really doing that well. The wild card will probably come out to be, I don't know. So right now we have the division leaders as Tampa, Detroit, and Oakland. Oakland somehow through smoke and mirrors will probably end up winning that division. The Central, I have no idea. Like I said, I'd probably pick Minnesota just because of their horses. They got the most top-notch guys. And in the East, Toronto or Tampa Bay, it's a toss-up, really. I'd say that probably one of them, whoever loses, will probably take the wild card, either Tampa or Toronto. But, of course, you can't count out any team from the Central or either of the 2 teams from the Central that don't end up winning division. So, really, you have Tampa Bay, Toronto, Detroit, Cleveland, Minnesota. Those 5 teams fighting for 3 playoff spots. So, 2 of them won't make it. 1 for the Central, at least 1 from the Central. That's pretty much it for the AL preview. Thanks for watching. If anyone actually did, bye.